Welcome to Inland Empire Alive, bringing you issues, events, and perspectives from throughout San Bernardino and Riverside counties. I'm David Brady, and in today's episode, you'll meet Rich Briggs of Upland, who makes custom musical instruments out of recycled materials like cigar boxes, hubcaps, and more. That's today on Inland Empire Alive. Joining the program now from Upland is Rich Briggs, who has made a delightful retirement out of manufacturing guitars out of some delightfully eclectic materials. Rich, welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So let's talk about where the passion came from. You've always been a musician. Talk to me about that.
Always been a musician. From fourth grade, I was in a band all the way up till now.
Is it always guitar?
No, it's trombone. I was a trombone player for 70 years, and then the pandemic hit, and all the bands I was in just kind of fell apart. So they're in the garage, and I'm doing this, and I'm much happier.
So tell me about your career, because your career was involved with the music industry in a way as well.
Yes. I was a music major in college, and then in the middle of my senior year, I got drafted. So I went down, and they said, if you enlist now, then we'll let you finish your senior year. So I enlisted in the Navy and was sent to the Naval School of Music, and ended up playing with the Navy Show Band. So I toured with the Navy Show Band for 6 years, traveling all over the United States and South America and Cuba and Hawaii, and which was great, met a lot of great musicians. And then after I got out of the Navy, I ended up going down and auditioning for a couple of bands in LA, playing rock and roll in bars and stuff, and that's what I did for a long time until I got married to the guitar player's sister-in-law. And that didn't work out so well as far as being gone every night. So I stopped doing that, started working for Muzak, which is the piped-in music. Mm-hmm. And I did that for almost 35 years. And then once I retired, I was looking around for something to do, and I thought maybe I'll make a guitar kit.
Well, now you already had some skills. I understand you were quite passionate about like amateur carpentry.
Oh yes. I because my job was so stressful, it was strictly commission, and so you're always worried about when your next sale is going to come. And so I would go home at night and make furniture out of oak. And then once I retired, I couldn't afford to go buy $400 or $500 of the oak just to make another piece of furniture that we really didn't need. So that's when I went online to maybe make a guitar thing, and that's how that started. And Thanksgiving 12 years ago, my sister-in-law came over for Thanksgiving and took a picture of me holding up a couple of these guitars that I just made, and she put it on Facebook. And San Antonio Hospital, which is a local hospital in Upland, contacted me and said they're having a gala fundraiser silent auction, and would I make one and donate it? So I did, and it sold for a couple of $100. I was shocked. And then 2 months later, they called me again. And then after that, another guy called me and he says, I didn't win the auction, but could I buy one from you? And I go, duh, I guess so. And so now this is number 2,317. So I've been making a lot of these suckers.
How many are still in your possession?
Probably 10, because I make about 5. No, yeah, I make about 5 a week, and I usually sell about 5 a week.
Wow.
So
how does one learn how to make such an unusual guitar? I mean, certainly, you make things out of very odd bodies. So is there a sort of place you go to learn this?
The internet. The internet, really. You Google, there's a lot of people that share the way that they make things and how they make things, and you look at them and you pick, well, I like that way, but I don't like that way, so I'll do it this. And then also trial and error. Most of it's trial and error. There's been so many guitars. My shed my little work thing has got all these guitars hanging up there that were failures because I did them the wrong way, and so yeah, that's what that means. Trial and error for me.
So did being a musician give you insight into kind of, was it difficult to sort of curb those perfectionist impulses? Oh, I got to make this sound a particular way, or?
Well, I was a trombone player, and all you have is a slide. So I'm not a perfectionist like a pianist. No, you never know what it's going to sound like. When you put the strings on it and play it, and then I'm always surprised. And because each box has different capabilities. This one's like, it's a solid wood, so it gets a nice big sound without being amplified. But there's others that have beautiful, beautiful graphics on them, or are thick and ornate, and they'll be a little bit muted. So just it just depends on the box. And
Well, tell me about some of the different types of materials you use, because it's not just cigar boxes.
no, it's, well, as you can see over there, there's an old 30-year-old hubcap, 50-year-old hubcap actually, from a Chevy pickup that I use. The most amazing thing I ever did was this guy tracked me down, and he had a Millennium Falcon toy that was about yay by yay, and wanted me to make a bass out of it, electric bass. And I said, yes, I would, and I wish I hadn't said it. I did it, but it took me like 3 weeks because it had electronics in it, and every time I cut into it, this is just an antique toy that's worth a ton of money for this guy. So, but I've done that. I've done lunch boxes. I've done all kinds of different things.
So where do you get your materials?
A lot of times people bring them to me. There is a store near my house that I've got a nice relationship with that sells me the boxes for $1 a piece, which is a real
Okay,
good
that was a
price.
question I had. Can you get cigar boxes without smoking cigars?
Yes. They have them stacked up at most cigar stores, and you can go in and they'll charge anywhere from $3 to $5 a piece. But my friends only charge me $1, and sometimes when I'll go there, they'll say, "Rich, oh please, just take a big bag, and we got too many of these things."
Have you ever been to smoke?
I've never smoked a cigar. My dad used to smoke cigars, and always in the backyard you'd see the cigar butts out there, and it looked like we had a dog.
So do you have a preferred building material or a style that you build?
Well, as far as the material I use a piece of poplar for the neck, and I really like that. It's good. And I use a yardstick for the fretboard simply because it's inexpensive and it looks cool. People like it. When I first started, I thought, well, I'm going to make fine quality stuff, and I'll get the really best quality wood, and I'll inlay the dots on the side and on the fretboard, and nobody cared. What they cared was was it a cool looking box, and how did it sound? Those are the two things.
Well, that's an interesting point. Do you think it's more that it's made out of found objects that is part of
A lot of people
appeal?
really like that. A lot of people really like the fact
And it's
that
sort of Americana
exactly,
folk art.
Exactly. There's no. Actually, that's how this started. Cigar box guitars back in the late 1800s. They call them Delta Blues slide neck guitars because they didn't have any money, but they had a lot of cigar boxes, and so that's how they would start to do. In fact, the first ones they called them diddley bows, and that's where Bo Diddley got his name. They used to use a broom, a straw broom, and they would take the wire that held the straw on the bottom of it and use that as the string, and then make that the neck. And the interesting thing that I found out is that guys that are really into that will only use that wire. They won't use a guitar string because that wire, since it's been wound around there, it's got little tiny miniature kinks in it. And so it gets this scratchy, defining sound of a diddley bow.
So can your guitars be played like a quote unquote real instrument?
Yes.
Can you play something for us?
Oh boy, gosh, I thought you'd
No
never
pressure.
ask. Yeah. Everybody knows this. Of course, these are 78-year-old fingers, so they don't work so good. But yeah, people enjoy that. And what I enjoy a lot is people will come up to my booth and they'll pick them up. I always let them come play them, and they'll start playing. And sometimes there'll be a couple kids that will play together, and then they'll start to sing and have a little, and then people will gather around to listen to them do it. So that's what makes it a lot of fun too.
Do people ever ask you why not make real guitars?
Yes, they do all the time. They say, why don't you make a 6-string guitar? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? I said, well, I could, but it wouldn't be as good as your cheap 6-string guitar that you bought, because the neck it's called radius. It's got a curve to it, the fretboard, and I can't do that. This is just strictly flat. So the feel of it wouldn't be as good. You can buy your son this 6-string guitar, and that's great. He's going to look at it and say, thanks, Mom, or thanks, Grandma. And then he's going to hang it on the wall and go back to that good guitar that he likes the feel of. At least that's my opinion. I may be wrong. I don't know.
So I also know that this pastime has kind of turned into a calling in a way, that you travel quite a bit, that even though it seems like this would be mostly solitary, spent working in your workshop, this has actually turned into something that you and your wife travel quite a bit and make, sort of an enjoyable retirement out of.
Yeah, well, actually, I think the enjoyable part, I fund my wife's travel. We have grandkids that play volleyball and soccer, and my wife loves to go follow them to their tournaments. In fact, she's going to Chicago at the end of the month for a big volleyball tournament for my youngest granddaughter, and so this funds that for her. So I stay home with the dog and the cat, and she travels with my daughter and son-in-law, and it works out perfect because it makes her very happy, and I get to stay home and make more guitars.
Well, I do know that you get around. Where are some of the places that people can find you out?
Oh, I go down to Newport Beach for a while. I was at Huntington. I used to do Hollywood. That was a very cool event to do. You meet a lot of famous people, and a lot of them you don't even know who they are. After they leave the booth, the guy will say, "You know who that guy was?" I said, "No, I don't know." In fact, I met oh shoot, I can't even think. Never mind.
Well, tell me about some of the celebrity encounters, because I know you've been very fortunate in that you've had folks.
Oh, yes. When I was doing Hollywood, people would come up and say, "Well, I'm working on a project. Can I do this?" And a lot of them were, "Yeah, okay, you're working on a project. Sure, get in touch with me and I'll make something for you." But this one guy came up to me and he bought one and he kept talking about his project. So I asked him his name and I looked him up, and he's, my gosh, his name is Jake Monaco, and he's the guy that did the music for Frozen, for a lot of TV shows, a lot of movies, and after I sold him the first guitar that I sold him, I get this email from him maybe 6 months later. He said, "I thought you'd like to know. These are some clips of the soundtrack for Alexander's Terrible, Horrible
Oh,
Day."
yeah.
And he says, "This is what was played behind the credits. This is what's played in this thing." And so I thought that was really cool.
Wow.
And then there was a couple from Germany that saw me at a show and they bought a guitar, and about a year later, he sent me a clip and he said, "I thought you'd like to know, this is on our latest album." And all this stuff is on my website, by the way, so people want to hear what that stuff sounds like. And it really makes you feel pretty cool.
So, what is the best compliment you've received?
Gosh. Most of it is, I guess probably the fact that how easy it is to play the instruments and how cool they sound and how they're just made out of nothing. I mean, look, this is a kitchen cabinet, and this is a bolt, and this is a bolt, and this is a yardstick, for crying out loud. But yet you can make some pretty doggone beautiful music that gets in movies and gets recorded. So,
Rich, it has been so delightful having you on the show. I want to let people know where they can find out more. It is cigarboxguitarsbyrich.com.
correct.
You're also on Instagram at cigarboxrich. Rich, why don't you play us out?
Okay. Little Beatles?
Sure.
Oh, no, wait a minute, that's not Beatles, is it? That's Over the Rainbow. What do I know? Do you want to know a secret? That's Beatles.
Yes.
So there you go. I'm usually better than this.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me.